Wait for it. Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest, Mr. Trevor Ryback, introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Hello, everyone. I am Trevor Ryback. I am a very, very new author, and we're going to talk about the book today. It's funny. I actually majored in mathematics, but definitely a genuine nerd. And one of my roommates at my previous residence, he published a book, and I'm like, if that guy can do it, so can I. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's cool. And if he wants to come on the podcast, if it's speculative fiction, that works too. We're not stingy. But okay. So are you a reader from way back?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't get really into reading until college, which is just so ridiculous. So I would say I was late in that regard, but definitely love like Rick Riordan, Tolkien, like basically the big, funny, interesting world building fantasy heads. I love all of that.
Okay. Any chance that they based the Ryback character in Under Siege 1 and 2 that Steven Seagal played after you?
Probably. I think there's that and the wrestler. I think both those Rybacks are probably based on me.
All right. So before we get too deep in this interview, we do have to do the religion question. Are you ready for this?
I am.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Star Wars for sure. I grew up alongside kind of the prequels, and I know some of the prequels get hate, but I still love them. But I think Star Wars has just like put out so much content and such like a interesting, cool world. And then I didn't know Firefly and Star Trek. I should give a watch because I'm sure I would love it.
Yeah, Firefly came out when I was in college, so I was kind of a little bit busy. I didn't get to that one until later either. Trek it's good. It's got good scenes and bad scenes in some episodes, so it's kind of all over. But now at this point, there's so many, like, I don't want to say episodes. There's so many shows that are spinoffs in that world that, you know, there's something I think for everyone probably. At some point, I'm going to do a review of some of the books because I didn't even realize until we started this podcast that they wrote novels in this Trek space. Because I grew up reading the Star Wars novels. So to find out that there were Trek novels and I missed them was kind of like, what? So, all right, because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Game of Thrones, The Wheel of Time, or Chronicles of Narnia?
I have to go Chronicles of Narnia. I love kind of young adult portal fantasy. It's the same genre as my book, and honestly, I love it inspired one of the kind of the time mechanic for my book. So definitely got to shout out Chronicles of Narnia. Game of Thrones, I've only watched the show. I didn't get a chance to read the books. I've actually read Narnia. But I do love the Game of Thrones show. It is so darn good.
Okay. Do you normally try to, when there are shows based on various fantasy or sci-fi, do you try to like watch the show and read the books, or do you pick one or the other?
I have done both. I think and part of that is I just like started reading for pleasure after like college. So I'd seen like Chronicles of Narnia, I'd seen Harry Potter, seen Lord of the Rings before I was like, okay, I need to like sit down and like read them. So I would say definitely both.
Okay. I try to start with whichever one came first. So if it's a novelization of the movie, I try to watch the movie first and vice versa. Because you want to see what the first vision was and then the interpretation of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good way to go about it.
although the novelizations, when they do that, it's always the original intent because they have the script when they're writing these, and then they add in scenes. So you're getting the script plus.
I don't think I've ever actually heard. I guess I haven't really seen a like novelization of a movie when it came first as a movie. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to look up some examples of that.
Yeah, we've interviewed some authors that did that. I mean, they just mentioned in passing it wasn't the topic of that particular interview, and that was one of the things they said. They had the script when they did it, and so they were able to add to it to make certain scenes make sense that were kind of glossed over for the movie. Because obviously in a book you don't have CGI and pretty ladies or do whatever your preference is flashing across the screen to distract you from any plot holes.
Oh yeah.
So you have to rely on the plot. And so sometimes they'll fill those holes when they novelize the story.
Cool.
All right. So one of the crying shames of adulthood is we stopped asking each other the important question. And thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, we are bringing that back. And I'm going to ask you, sir, what is your favorite dinosaur and why?
I gotta go Pachyrhinosaurus, the one with the hard head. Oh, I've just knocked on the microphone there. I just think it's so cool the way like it uses its head to like crash into. I guess like they're similar to like rams or in that regard, but I don't know. I just always thought it was such a cool dinosaur. I'm like, use your head.
That is one of the cool ones, and it is not the one we get all the time. Most of the time, you can tell someone's age by the dinosaur they give because it was what was in the popular media when they were growing up. So was it the Jurassic Park or the Land Before Time or the Land of the Lost or the reboot of the Land Before Time? Like but you're going old school with the old books.
I think there might have been a Pachycephalosaurus in Land Before Time. I think that's where I originally saw it. I'm pretty sure.
If there was, I don't remember that one. It might have been a side character or just a passing thing, but I don't think it was one of the named characters. I could be wrong. I'm going to have to dig into that
antagonist.
One. Yeah, I'm going to have to dig into that after the episode because now I'm curious. All right, so we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So, coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
I like tea. I don't really do caffeine anymore because I have enough energy as it is. So I prefer a nice chamomile or a peppermint tea, but I worked at a tea shop. I worked at Teavana for 2 years, and that was really fun. So I have all this useless tea knowledge, especially because I don't drink caffeine now. So if someone's drinking tea, I'm like, oh, what are you drinking? Oh, let me tell you its origin and stuff. So if you'd like to know about your tea, you can come to me. I don't know anything about coffee.
I actually worked as a barista to pay for grad school, so I'm with you. I was a black apron barista for Starbucks for a couple years.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And we had a Teavana near Villanova where I was going to grad school, and they got me to buy this like red tea that tasted like Big Red gum. And for the life of me, when they went under, I haven't been able to find anything like it again, which really sucks because it was so good. And they're the ones that introduced me to using German rock sugar in tea. Because before that, like grandma was German. And so obviously like we would eat it like rock candy. But, like putting it in your hot tea was just not something I'd ever considered. But it melts so perfectly in and it doesn't give you any of the weird aftertaste. And you could put like half an ounce for like 50 calories, which is nothing. So it is like the perfect, that's what I use for my sugar substitute now is the German rock sugar.
I'm so glad you do. That is so cool.
And I learned about that because we had the Teavana, and they're the ones who introduced me to the loose leaf tea. Because most people don't realize that tea has a lot of medicinal properties that they used it for that for the longest time. But when you bag it and you press it in the way the old Lipton style used to, you lose a lot of those nutrients. Which is why you're starting to see loose leaf tea make a resurgence, or the mesh bags with loose leaf in them, but they're still bagged because not everyone has the tea ball or the special strainers. I do have both, but that is wise because you get the value. And because I was exposed to so many chemicals in the Army, my doctor is pretty chill about like alternative medicine because, as he likes to tell me, before we had pharmaceutical companies putting it in a pill, like aspirin came from willow bark and medicine came from places. So like, if I can get allergy relief by drinking hot peppermint tea, why not? And save myself from buying the Sudafed or whatever. So I
Exactly.
keep that stuff on hand. And
Hey,
they used
really
to
cool.
they used to sell at Tijuana these airtight containers. And I have one that I bought when I was in grad school in 06 that is still, if I take the lid off, smells as fresh as the day I bought it because it is that airtight. I was skeptical at first, but then a couple years ago, they pulled some amphoras out of a shipwreck in the Baltic Sea. And then when they opened them, it was just as fresh as when it went down in like 300 BC.
What?
Because it was that airtight. Yeah. Now, of
That's
course,
crazy.
it was below the salt level in the Dead Sea, so that helps preserve it because it didn't break down the container, but the container itself was built to be airtight in normal conditions, right? Like obviously nothing is prepared to go submerged back then, but because of where it submerged, that tea was still good. In fact, they tried to plant some of the date trees from some of the dates and the figs and stuff that they found in those amphoras. And of course, at the time, all the memes were like, don't do it. This is how the world ends. Because, all the zombie fiction, right? Like that's how stuff starts. So all the sci-fi nerds were like, don't do it. Don't do it. In fact, right around that time was when House, did you ever watch the medical show House?
No, I need to. I heard it was really good, but go on.
It was really good, but one of the episodes he did was the divers accidentally dove a shipwreck that, if I remember correctly, it was a slave ship where the slaves had gotten infected, so they sunk it rather than admit the illness because they didn't want to quarantine the sailors. And for whatever reason, the divers diving it clipped something and they re-exposed themselves to whatever the disease was. Because it had preserved. And I'm just thinking, that's what's going to happen when you unfreeze this stuff that hasn't been exposed to humanity since 300 BC.
Yeah.
But it's plots for a lot of good novels. I mean, Tom Clancy and Brad Thorne, they can run, circles with those kinds of ideas. That's thriller territory right there.
Say it's like 28 days later, kind of giving
exactly. So do you like that kind of fiction?
I am such a wimp. I do not like being scared. So I respect that kind of fiction, but rating it, I would be like, I can't sleep now.
Okay. It's not for everybody. There's no shame in liking what you like. I like some of the concepts that you can get from those ideas. I don't know that I would want to read it or write it, but it's intellectually interesting.
True.
So anyway, how did you get into all things speculative fiction?
So I would say I grew up in Valley Center in this big yard. So we'd go play out in the yard. I will say my family definitely spoon fed me fiction from an early age. Like my dad read me the Lord of the Rings series. My mom read me Harry Potter. We played a ton of video games growing up. I would say one big one that inspired kind of I'll tell the story of it later, but Heroes of Might and Magic, if you ever played that, just Warcraft in general. So I would say from a lot of video games, the books, and then being outside, running around and playing in the kind of magical playground of our backyard.
No, that's how most of us were exposed to our imagination. We were disconnected from all the technology, and we kind of had to go back there and explore. In fact, they've done studies that something about being disconnected from things and having time in the quiet of your head to think is what fosters imagination. Dang. And so they're pointing that out as a danger for people that are routinely connected to the devices.
And this generation, it's everyone.
Well, a lot of the school stuff is doing technology that way, and so it's not even giving the parents an out or the students, even if they didn't want to be attached at the hip, right? They have to do it because that's how they're taking their classes.
Yeah, I work for Cal State San Marcos, and I think they've gotten more back into kind of the in-person stuff, or they definitely have gotten more back into the in-person stuff from after everyone went home for COVID. But yeah, I definitely we have to do the like multi-factor authentication, and a lot of people opted for the key fob. So they're like, I don't want to be on my phone or on technology any more than I have to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, all right. So when you were using your imagination, playing with your friends, were you finding that you were telling stories as you were playing in the kinds of spaces with the stories your mother and father were reading to you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say like we had some avocado trees, and I would say like we lived out our sci-fi fantasies in the avocado trees. My brother was always like the captain of the ship. I was the engineer, obviously, in the bottom of the tree, and then my sister was helping navigate, and we'd climb up the tree, and I mean, in our heads, we're flying through space, fighting robots and things. And then for the fantasy side, we each had a little dwelling. My brother lived under a rock. He dug a big hole under the rock. It actually went pretty far under there. And I had like a big bush that I hollowed out so I could get inside of it. And my sister, I think she had a rock too, but it was slightly less impressive than Brad's rock. But we would use quartz, like the little crystals. We'd crunch them up and use them as currency, and we all had our jobs. So, and a lot of the book, like this fantasy world, is what directly inspired my book. So that was the really cool thing about it, is I had this idea in my head from childhood because of like this game that we'd play out there. And I do plan on, I just finished the first draft of the second one yesterday. Still going to be a lot of work to get it into like publishing form, but I'm trying to incorporate more and more of these like specific references to these games that we'd play.
Do your brother and sister like the story as you've told it so far? Were they like digging it?
So my brother has not read it. My sister was he will. He just got his copy. But my sister, she was the first reader. She
That's
helped
cool.
me a little bit with the editing process. Actually, she is a great writer. She does a lot of like fanfic stuff for like Fallout, and she does some for like Harry Potter, but she's a really good writer, so she helped me with the editing process. So I if you go on like Amazon, you'll see that I like noted her as like as an editor for the book. Oh, and she liked it. She liked it, and she sees we just this past weekend we were at Mineral King. It's Sequoia National Park, and a lot of the outside scenes from Mineral King or from my book are based on Mineral King. So we were going through these meadows and things, and my sister was pointing out, she's like, look at that, right outside kind of the Enchantment Archmage's Tower. I'm like, oh my God, no way, it is.
That's kind of cool. You know, the joke in sci-fi is all alien planets look like Canada. So I guess all fantasy worlds all look like California.
Yeah.
So if they ever film the movie, now you know where it's got to be filmed at.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be so cool.
So when you were telling these stories, were you finding that you were the one directing the flow of the story, or were you more along for the ride? Like, were you always like taking control of the narrative flow, or was it more collaborative back then?
I would say it was more collaborative. It was definitely collaborative. I mean, I would say when it came to a specific day, one of us would kind of lead the way. So I think we were good sharers in the telling of the narrative. I will say my book is based on when I got to lead that narrative. But yeah, definitely we had a good relationship in that we followed the adventure wherever it went, and whoever was leading, whether it be my brother or sister.
That is cool. Now, what other speculative fiction did you get into, you know, growing up and as you got older? Presumably, because if you mentioned you had a math degree, as you got older, school got in the way of some of it, like it happens to all of us. But what else along the way of maturing into the lover of all the things that you are today did you discover?
Let's see. Uh, the one from like school that I really really liked and thought was interesting was like Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh, I
And
remember
I
that
know,
one.
yeah, and I mean it's not. It's funny in a way, like it's using your imagination to like enter like a fantasy realm, and I thought that was a really good book. It was sad, but it was good. So that one was really good. I definitely like I read like all the Rick Riordan. I would say that he is like probably my biggest inspiration. It's 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 so good. If people haven't read the Percy Jackson series, if you want a good laugh, it's great. That was probably the biggest. A series of unfortunate events was amazing. I loved that growing up. That's a little creepy, but not quite like terror horror. Uh, so that's Lemony Snicket, and Goosebumps. The original Goosebumps novels, like I would say, those are one of the only ones that I was like, oh, they're small enough. And now that I keep like going through it, Magic Treehouse. Did you read Magic Treehouse?
No, those came out I think after me, but
After.
I'm aware of them and my kids read them.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah. So I read the really short stuff. I'm now realizing, kind of until I got to college and kind of read the Chronicles of Narnia, and right now I'm almost done with Aragon with Christopher Polini. So good! I cannot believe he was as young as he was when he wrote that. I don't know. I've been so impressed with like kind of the Inheritance series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always weird. Like we interviewed recently as we're recording, not when this is going to air, a young writer who was like 15 when she wrote it. We were talking to her. She's
Oh,
16 because
cool.
it's published. And I'm like, on the one hand, that's impressive. And on the other hand, we kind of hate you because we weren't there when we were 16.
No way. There's no way I would have had that like um, discipline at that age.
Yeah, me either. But it's cool when people were, because gives me hope that they're for the rest of us, I guess.
I was thinking that in the car on the way over here. I was like, I always respected when people like the people who went and like sung at talent shows and stuff. I was like, that is so cool. At that age, I was just messing around too much and would have like never done something like that. But now that I'm like older, I'm like, oh, like I love open mics and I love like people just sharing their art or whatever it is. But it's crazy that kids do it.
Oh, absolutely. There's some people that just have no, I don't want to say no shame like it's a bad thing, but they just don't get bothered by it being up in front of everybody.
Yeah, and I don't get that. I it's funny. I feel like I could do that at the front of a classroom, but if I was I mean, I go to open mics and I do like and I sing my cruddy music and I every time I have like a panic attack and I'm like, how do people sing to crowds of like so many people? That's insane.
I don't know how they do it either. If we figure it out, we can write a book about it and get rich.
There you go.
So, do you feel like your siblings and your parents influence the kind of stories you like and that you now tell?
100%. I mean, I definitely like anyone who like knows me and reads the book are gonna see very very many parallels and kind of like things I dealt with growing up and like uh, just just like the I mean especially like I said my brother and sister seeing like the exact parts of the games we'd play. Yeah, my mom and dad were like big nerds. Uh, and Yeah, one of the things that we do all together is we would play Heroes of Might and Magic. Do you ever play that game?
No, I'm not even familiar with it. I'm going to Google it later.
Oh, it's so fun. Heroes of Might and Magic 3 to be specific. But but it's like a turn-based, like you build up your castle, build up your army, and go fight. And it's funny, where my book came from, the name for my book came from was it literally has nothing to do with like what you are doing in the game, but it's like, oh, player one, what do you want to be called? And I was like, Mora the Lord. And I was like, that's a cool sounding name. And that became the name of the character in my book. And eventually that became like a book series, because I was like, this character that I'm making up for this game, what do I want his backstory to be? And then when I'd play my games, I would be like, okay, how does Mora fit in here? And it's just funny that like that's where it started, was just, what do you want to be called for Heroes of Might and Magic scenario?
That's cool. Well, since we are drifting into the novel itself, why don't we air the commercial while we pause for a moment, while we shamelessly shill for the man, and then we'll dive right into the book that brought us here.
Right on.
Well, hello, all you beautiful chicks and dudes of all sorts. This is Suave Rob Suarez, the bitchin' XX Daredevil star of Suave Rob's Amazing Ass-Saving Association, here with another ass-saving tip, totally free from me to you, to help you save your ass so you can live to sit another day. Now, back in the day, when dudes were dudes, this one dude, Benchmark Bob, buddy of mine, he had this little accident. He tried frying up an egg when he was totally hammered, so he washed a pan, then didn't dry it, then put a shitload of butter in it, then turned on the heat. Well, when you do that, chicks and dudes, the water makes the oil go splatzo all over your own personal face. And good old Benchmark got his bench marked, if you know what I mean. Like, when he took his apron away from his face, it looked less like a face and more like someone had stepped on a pepperoni pizza. I don't like to think about it. But that goes to show you, you know? Always dry your pans before you put oil in them, man. Especially if you're frying an egg. Want to know where I learned all this gonzo shit? I got it all done up pretty for you in Suave Rob's XX Daring Do, the first book of Suave Rob's Awesome Adventures by J. Daniel Sawyer. Come share the awesomeness with me, my brothers, 'cause you never know. The ass you save may be your own.
All righty. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And with that, we are back with Trevor Ryback to talk about his book, City of Lanturn. So let's start with, you told us the premise of the series came from the games you played with your siblings as kids. What would you say the age range of this book is? Like, what would you rate it for the parents at home if you were using like the movie scale rating?
Oh, definitely like PG. It's I would say the intended audience is probably kind of 5th grade to like maybe like high school. It's a pretty short book, but yeah, I would say PG. It's funny. I mean, I would say the worst thing it says is crap. But yeah, it's got some like kind of some more adult ideas in it as well, but nothing too intense. I would say PG would be the rating on that.
Okay, so obviously, like the grand concept of the universe came from your siblings, but where did Mora come from? Obviously, the name came from your game, Heroes of Might and Magic, but like a name isn't a story, right? There's more to a story than the name. So how did the character come to be? What can you tell us about Mora?
So once I had the name, we'd be playing these games, and I'm like, okay, like I wanna think of like this person's origin story, and in order to kind of like connect it back to reality, I'm like, I do want this character to be from Earth and then ends up in this like greater fantasy realm. So very early on, I was like, okay, I do want it. I want him to be a person who is like relatable. So he like grows up in New York City. My partner is from New York City, so it was cool kind of talking to her about that. But yeah, basically I was like, okay, so a human entering a fantasy world has to figure out what the heck is going on here, and then specifically the kind of magic that I really wanted him to do was like perception magic is what I call it, but it's all about kind of illusions, influencing what people can are experiencing. So I always thought that was really interesting. And maybe it's from I'm a big Pokemon nerd, and my favorite Pokemon by far is Kadabra. Love kind of like psychic energy and like telepathy. So perception magic is like the fantasy kind of version of that.
Okay. Is the magic like known to everybody in the world that it exists, or does it kind of happen behind closed doors?
So that's a great question. So the world that we are entering, magic is illegal. So he comes into a world where magic is illegal. There's only kind of a select secret few, or a secret bunch of people who can actually do it, because it has been made illegal for like the last hundreds of years.
Oh, do you go into what made it illegal, or is that just part of the backstory that kind of happens in the background?
Yes, we go into what so a big kind of part of this book is you're along for the ride with Mora, and it's written in first person, so you're kind of in his mind and kind of experiencing the world as he does. So the reader is going into it just like him, not a clue what's going on. And a big part of this book, as you go through it, is you start discovering the lore. You start discovering like the history of this place. So in that kind of discovery, you learn about the world, how it came to be, and I think that's really interesting. I feel like the world building was like the most enjoyable part of writing this book. I would say that's like my favorite part of writing.
Okay, so what's the story of the cover? Because it is a very, obviously it you look at it and you can tell it's intended for younger audiences just by the visuals. But is there more to this cover, or did you just kind of let the artist do the artist thing?
So I was like, okay, so this in the book is the big like reveal into, okay, this is the city of Lanturn. And oh my god, I love the artist. I gotta shout out kind of Amari Mooring. It's so funny. He is my sister's boss. I was looking for an artist for like so long, and just out of the blue, he's like, I'll do it. And I had never met him. He's the coolest, definitely like the main character in this world. He literally makes me laugh so much. But I gave him kind of I gave him like, okay, this is kind of what I want for the concept. But he did the character so well, kind of Aura on the left showing Mora on the right, like, okay, this is the city of Lanturn. So this is how I always imagined the cover of the book to look, is kind of this first introduction to, okay, this is like the first like big castle or magical place that Mora gets to see.
So this is available right now in ebook that I noticed. I didn't check what other medium is it. Is it paperback and hardback as well?
Yes. Yeah.
And is it going to come out in audio or no? I don't know if for your target audience if that's something you do.
I will probably just do it because I like that sounds fun. So I do plan on making an audiobook, but I do plan on making it myself because I feel like I'd want like the cadence to be specific, and I would want my like the names to be pronounced the way I want. So I definitely think an audiobook is going to come in the works. I just need to sit down and do it.
Yeah, I mean, and given the world the way it was created, you could almost do like a multicast when you need other characters like voices, your brother and sister, since they helped create the world, like drag them into it. That would be kind of cool.
My sister offered, and there are definitely plenty of female voices in the book. Yeah, I think that's such a good idea. She already said she was down. I definitely should do that.
That'd be so cool. So is there maps? Because people that like fantasy like maps. Are there maps in the story of the world?
So I mean, I have the map. I've drawn it all out on my iPad, but there is not a map in the book. And And I do wish there was. I think that would have been a good thing. So maybe that's something I should include for the second book. So I need to get a map artist, it seems.
Okay. And are there so one of the things that fantasy is kind of known for sometimes it's in the, especially young adult fantasy, is the pictures in the books themselves, like the black and white line art. Is that something you included in this novel?
No, it's pretty bare bones.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That does increase the cost because artists aren't cheap. They like to eat. So
yeah, and we love artists. We love when artists eat because then they create, and we love what they create. So
Yep. And as creative types like to remind everyone, you could, do it for exposure. Yeah, but you die of exposure. So
dang, too real.
So other than Mora, like, who are the other characters that we encounter in this book? Obviously, no spoilers. We want people to read the book.
Yes. So we'll encounter probably my favorite character is his mentor Archie. So Archie is going to be one of the people who is going to teach more about magic. We're gonna encounter Ara, who is his best friend here. That he makes. So we're gonna meet Mora's parents, Mora's mom. In New York City, and I like writing for her, and kind of we get exposure to kind of the different archmages of the different magic, so the different kind of teachers, and I love a good mentor-mentee relationship. I think it's so fun to write for, and the reason I like Archie so much is he's just kind of eccentric, and I love an eccentric character.
The best mentor character ever, hands down, Uncle Iroh in The Last Airbender.
I was watching that yesterday. Agreed.
He told the Fire Lord, wisdom has been trying to catch you, but you've ever run faster, or something to that effect. So he had some good one-liners that you're like, oh, wait, what? And then you thought about it, and you're like, and this is supposed to be a kid's show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like Avatar: The Last Airbender is like the pinnacle of like someone sees it as like oh, that's just a kid's cartoon. I'm like, sit down and watch it because it's so darn good. Delicious tea or deadly poison?
Yeah, he's got a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
So what about the antagonist? Obviously, like, they've got the world, it sounds like, is pushing against them, the whatever outlawed the magic, but what is the antagonist, without spoilers, that Mora is faced?
So yeah, in kind of a world of like where magic is illegal, the basically Mora gets picked up by the magic folk, the people who kind of practice and are into magic. So then the antagonist is kind of the other like large castle in this world where magic is illegal. So it's the kind of the king and queen of that castle are kind of our antagonists situationally.
Okay. Now you said this was Portal. Does it go both ways, or is it a one-way trip, or would that be a spoiler?
That is a great question. It's a one-way trip as far as like the story goes. So it's not like a night going back thing. It's okay, I'm in. How the heck do I get out? Yeah.
Would you live in this world if you could?
I think I would live in this world towards the resolution of the book. I think I'll stay out of the magical oppression version of the world, but towards kind of the resolution of the book. Heck yeah, I want to learn some magic, and it's based on Mineral King, so it's the views are the great outdoors that I know and love.
Yeah. Was that intentional, or did you only realize you had done that after your sister pointed it out, as far as the setting being Mineral Kings?
Oh, completely intentional. Totally intentional. In fact, kind of more talks about these like camping trips he'd go on with his dad, and he references these places like Sequoia and Lassen. So totally intentional. In fact, last time I was in Mineral King, I was just starting to actually like put the book together. And there's a scene where we're in Mora's memories where a spider falls out of the toilet paper holder in the bathroom. And the only reason I added that was because that happened to me in Mineral King when I was there that time.
That's cool, though. You use what you know. Why not, right? So
exactly.
What about for the castle itself? Was that something like Disney has famously used some of the castles out of Germany? Other people just sort of used the Gothic stuff that came out of England, Ireland, and Wales. With the castle that we're seeing in the foreground or in the background, excuse me, was that inspired by anything specific or just more of the general idea of a fortified city?
So I would say, so in Heroes of Might and Magic, there was kind of a like castle in a cave, and I thought that was a really cool idea. That was the kind of the first time I'd seen castle in a cave look. So I would say probably it was based on like kind of that idea. The actual castle kind of in the book, like the spiraling towers. I don't think there was a specific one I was basing it off of in particular, but I think Omari did such a good job like putting it together. This kind of like these like orbs of like glowing energy and these crystals that light the cavern with this like purple light. It was like exactly how I saw it in my head. But that was a good question.
So the purple is intentional on the cover.
That's how I saw it in my head. I always pictured it as like these purple crystals. So yeah, it's these purple crystals that provide light, and those kind of orbs that you see on the cover are made of that like same crystal, and it's a glowing crystal that can be found in these caves.
That is cool. How long is this novel?
It's I would say it's on the shorter end for novels. It's 200 pages, and it is I think it's like 63,000 words, so it's not super long. I would say it's a pretty quick read. There are only 18 chapters, and each chapter is about like 15-ish pages. So I would say it's on the shorter end. I would say it's like accessible to a younger audience in that regard. Is it moves pretty quickly. Each chapter kind of I would say it moves very quickly, and I think that's because myself sometimes when I've read like Lord of the Rings, for instance, like awesome book, but the level of detail that goes into like explaining, I feel like when I was a kid, I just like I couldn't like get myself to read through the really thick parts. So a part of it is this book just kind of I would say it moves very quickly.
Well, I mean, you're saying it's shortest, but for a novel for the target audience that you're seeking, I would say it's the right length, because your audience is what matters when you're writing.
True.
So, does it end with a satisfactory end, or is there a cliffhanger for people? Because obviously they're going to wait a little bit.
Both. So kind of it wraps up in the final chapter, but yes, I did leave an epilogue to lead into kind of the start of the next book.
And for those listening, the next book is in the final draft stage right now, because you've just finished it.
Yeah, so I just finished the first draft, so it'll probably be a year. And then in 1 year, it'll come out and it'll be great. And I already, like, obviously this is my first book that I've written. The second one is already just like, it's the first draft of the second one is way better, so miles farther than the first draft of the first one. So it'll come out quicker than, because City of Lanturn took a lot of editing, just because it was a lot of kind of word vomit at the beginning and then kind of make it make sense, make it sound pretty and all that jazz. But the second one definitely, I think it's going to move a little bit quicker. So famous last words, I say that now, but probably a year.
Okay. Were there any surprises as you were writing this that you didn't expect?
I had it pretty mapped out, to be honest. Like, it was funny. So like I said, this idea has been in my head since I've been a kid. So I built this as I was going on hikes and as I was playing in the yard. I was building this narrative, and then as a kid I was thinking, okay, how do I connect these ideas to make it like a kind of a linear story? And so I had this idea kind of scene for scene in my head since like childhood. And then it took, when I was in college, I created a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that took you through the entire story. So it had the map, had the world, and it took you like start of the book through the end of the book. And then, yeah, I had a roommate who published a book. I'm like, okay, I just need to sit down and write the thing. So as far as surprises go, I think I didn't have any like surprises until I started thinking about the second one. Because then I was like, okay, how do I set this up for the second one? So I would say mainly that, but otherwise it was pretty like it was built before it started, you know?
So do you know how the series is going to go? You know, how many books, where it's going to end?
I'm thinking 3. 3 is all I have planned at the moment. So second one is setting up for a third one, but we'll see if people like it. I'll keep on writing. But as far as a planned out narrative goes, 2 1/4 is what I have right now.
Okay. Is there any, because obviously, you know, it's not going to be as long an interview as some of them because it's a shorter book. It's to be expected. Is there anything about City of Lanturn that we didn't talk about that you really think we ought to cover?
Let me think. I would say it's just it was a passion project that became real, and I think that is so cool. And just I want to just say to any creatives who are reading it, like just sit down and do it, because like if you do, like your dreams can literally become a reality, like this has for me. But I definitely want to say it has been a collaborative effort in like my brother and sister kind of playing the games that inspired this world. My sister's boss just happening to be like, oh, like I'll do the art for the book. My sister helping with that editing. So it's definitely been like a community effort in that way, and I definitely think it's just a celebration of a lot of people's, at least that crew's art, and that's been really cool. But I guess I don't have too much other to say. I just hope people like it.
That's okay. I think Umari Mooring, that's the guy that did the illustration. I think he nailed it. So I'm really digging what he did.
Yeah.
So this is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right book. So do your part, people. It really does make a difference. And with that, Trevor, where might we find you on the wild interwebs?
You can find me on Amazon. If you look up City of Lanturn, you will notice that it is spelled funky here, that Lanturn, Lanturn. But if you look up City of Lanturn Trevor Ryback, or even just Trevor Ryback, it'll come up, and you'll see that pretty purple cover.
All right, and we will link to all that in the show notes, dear listener, and you can follow us on our link tree linktr.ee linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things: the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Substack, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Steppy Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author.jrhanley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author.jrhanley. These episodes aren't free to produce, and we appreciate your patronage. Every penny helps keep the lights on. If you want to donate through that Buy Me a Coffee link, be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep the coffee brewing. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Hanley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time. We will indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, thank you for coming on, Trevor. This was a lot of fun.
This has been so fun. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to hit the end button. Wade.